Hello, Germany, and hello, Europe. Well, it's really my pleasure to be here. This is the first time I've ever been in Munich, and I have to say the reception from the people here has been outstanding, and the products and the synergy of the science behind what Jeunesse has created, you're going to learn more and more about. And as I talk more about the Zen body system, I think what you're going to see is the real science behind this program and how it's been designed. You know, I was the first board certified anti-aging physician in the world. And that goes back 20 years ago. And you know, over these 20 years, I've had personalized, if you will, health or anti-aging programs for very, very elite, select people. The exact same science that's designed behind the Zen system is exactly what I was using for years. But what we've been able to do at Jeunesse is bring that science down to an easy system for everyone to be able to use without the need of a physician monitoring things. So it's with my pleasure that I can not only explain the system and science behind this, but really start to show you, we're going to show you 2 examples of how this system works in people who are over 60 and in people who are young. So if any of you think it's too late to transform your body, you're wrong. If you think it's too young and you don't have the information or the willpower to do it, you're wrong. Because with this system, both of these groups, both of the groups of people that we see in Jeunesse and are part of Jeunesse have proved that this works. So with that, I think we'll get started. Okay, so the Zen body system. The Zen body system is a series of products that really, really compensate for the aging process that occurs in every human being. Now, I have 2 medical textbooks that physicians use to train. I have 6 other books out on Amazon.com for the general layperson to try to understand this. And I'm going to explain to you one of the most obvious signs of aging, that's changes in our body composition, in just a few minutes. And so with that, we'll get started. What is the Zen body system? It is a way of overcoming the aging process that occurs in every one of us, no matter how old you are, by understanding how to manipulate key hormones and the new science behind these natural occurring compounds that can do this. Okay. So it actually addresses the root cause of why our metabolism changes as we age and our bodies change. And it's going to give you the tools, not only for yourself, but to explain to the people you present this program to, how they can dramatically change their life. And I want to make a comment. This is not about just looking good, okay, and fitting in your clothes. The Zen body system, by doing what it does, by altering the ratio of body fat and muscle mass, is going to improve your blood pressure. It's going to improve your cholesterol levels. It's going to improve your mood. And in essence, it's going to make you a younger you. Okay? So I want to show a few examples of what's happened with time with people who really don't know what Jeunesse knows. Now, we're all familiar with James Bond about 18 years ago. And unfortunately, Pierce Bronson did not have the Jeunesse system, nor did he come to see me, and he should have. So here's what happens with the aging process, okay? He's trying harder now. I did speak to him recently, he's trying harder. Captain Kirk, for those of you who go back a little bit further. Now, this guy was traveling the universe, fighting all types of aliens, and he had to be in shape. Today, unfortunately, he's on the beach, and he also did not have the secrets to what we're going to show you now. So what I'm trying to show you is, even though you might be some of the most famous people in the world, you might have all the money you could possibly have, without the science behind Jeunesse, that's where you're going to end up. And we don't want you to be there, okay? So the myth about weight loss programs and diets, the secrets of what we've searched for, we really have the answers now, okay? And again, going back to what's in my fancy medical textbooks and even some of the books for the public, it was a little difficult even then to explain, but I think we have it down. So what happens as we age is, you know, there's quite a few young people in the crowd here. And if you take a look at these young people, we're all walking by and go, gee, look how nice and slim and fit they are. I wonder why. And you know, those of us who are in their 50s or maybe their 60s or older, we go to the gym We really try, we watch what we eat, and we don't seem to get the benefit that we used to get out of this. I'm going to explain to you why we don't and how you can fix that. Okay? So here's basically what's happened with diets over the past 30 years. Okay, and I have had the opportunity to know very well and have as a colleague Dr. Atkins, a number of other very famous diet doctors who said to me, you know, Vincent, my diet really works. Okay, and when people are on our diet, they lose weight. And my comment used to be, and as soon as they get off your diet, they gain back that weight. So what was happening with that was, if you are a person, and this special x-ray shows the body fat on your skeleton. So basically all standard diets in the past, until now, would have you cut your calories, do some exercise, decrease the quantity of foods you eat. But basically here's what happened. You became a smaller, skinnier, a smaller fat person. So your ratio of body fat and muscle mass didn't change, okay? But what you really did is became a small fat person. Now, we don't want you to lose muscle mass and body fat. In fact, we want you to gain muscle mass and we want you to lose body fat together, because that's the secret. Okay? And if you look at people, for instance, who exercise regularly and are young, you look at the young people walking around today, you're going to see they have a little bit of body fat, they're much more toned, and that's because of their hormones. Okay. So today's diets fail because they do just that, okay? And they don't understand the science behind this phenomenal product. So what happens is, if you look at young people or you look at somebody who's been on a medically directed hormonal dietary program, or somebody who has been on Genesis program, here's what you would see. You'd see the same person going from this to this, and what you see is loss of body fat. You see increased muscle mass, okay? And along with that, aside from the appearance, if you looked at their chemistries, you would see drops in triglycerides, drops in cholesterol, drops in blood sugar, drops in inflammation, and all the markers we look at, CRP, the interleukin markers, all these fancy things. So this is not just a dietary or weight management program to make you look better. It's a program to help you age better, stay healthier longer. So you really need to understand the value of what this program brings you, not just a cosmetic appeal, but enhanced health. Okay? So how do we get there and maintain it, and what are the causes in the first place? Okay, let's go into a little bit of a simplified kind of hormonal explanation and lecture. So basically, this program is not about losing pounds, but it's about losing inches in the right place. And what happens to just about virtually everybody, they'll say, you know, gee, you know, I may have lost 4 or 5 pounds, but all my clothes fit better. My pants aren't so tight. My jackets fit tighter, or in my dresses, I just look better. I have more of a waistline. That's what you begin to see when you change your body composition. More muscle, less body fat. Okay, so if we go back to the causes of what happens to us year by year, the most common cause is we start to increase inflammation in our body. Okay? And everybody knows as they get up in the morning, they start to get a little more achy. Their joints might ache a little bit. You feel like, gee, you know, this is something new. I really don't recall feeling this way. And year by year, it gets a little worse. So let me tell you what the secret is. As you gain body fat, okay, you do not grow new fat cells. Okay, so this is a misnomer. So basically, when you're 18, 19, you might have 500 million fat cells. But as you age, each one of those fat cells gets bigger as you gain weight. And as it gets bigger and bigger, and as your blood sugar starts to go up, because, gee, you're getting certain other changes cause that blood sugar to go up aside from being lazy and eating the wrong foods, that big fat cell starts to produce compounds it didn't produce before. And I'm going to explain to you how those compounds, each one of your fat cells, are the cause of this. Okay? So the inflammation leads to an inhibition, or if you will, a coating of a special hormone that's also produced in those fat cells. So the fat cells really produce a compound called leptin. Okay? another compound called adiponectin, another compound that actually causes you to gain fat, that's G3DPH, which we're going to talk about, and I'll show you how to remember all these things. But it produces a group of hormones. When it's small and young, it doesn't produce the bad ones, it only produces the good ones. When you get older and gain fat in your body and that cell grows, it starts to produce bad compounds. So in essence, every one of the fat cells in your body is a little micro pharmacy that you have to learn to control. Okay? So inflammation, okay? This leads to loss of muscle. It leads to a slower metabolism, and just as a comment, 5 pounds of muscle burns 250 calories a day, even if you're sitting. So what do bodybuilders know? The more muscle they have, they build muscle, they burn more calories, and they stay slimmer, okay? If your muscle mass starts to deteriorate, your posture, you start to stoop, your legs hurt, you don't have any energy, the stability, this is why older people, as they walk, you'll see them kind of go like this. They've lost the muscle tone to keep their legs and posture up. If your posture goes out, you start having back pain and pain shooting down the back of your legs, okay? And as you get older, it's harder to build muscle even if you exercise, and we're going to show you how to compensate for that. So inflammation is one of the root causes of all these things, okay? Besides in general inflammation, what else causes you to gain body fat and upset the ideal hormonal balance? Well, here's the thing. Sugar, okay? Anything that's pretty much white, and I hate to say this because we all love this, vanilla ice cream, pasta. Are the Italians here? Okay. I'll explain to you how we can eat pasta and still actually lose weight in a minute. Okay, anything that's white, potatoes. You look at white, you know you're going to gain body fat. Keep that in mind. The other thing is having too much fat on the body, especially in the gut. Injuries that don't allow you to move, and there's an excuse, gee, I hurt my knee, I really can't get out there and walk. Processed foods, white flours, we talked about that. Trans fats or partially hydrogenated fats. If you start looking at the labels of the food you buy, and you see this, partially hydrogenated fat, put it down. Okay, stress. Anybody in this audience has zero stress in their life? Any hands? Okay, here's the answer to that. Lack of sleep. Now, I'm going to mention a couple of things that are really important. If you don't sleep enough, your body cannot repair the cells that have been used during the day and damaged during the day through the normal process of aging. And if you think you're going to get away with 2 or 3 hours of sleep or 4 or 5, you will age quicker and you will stay fat. Okay? Lack of movement. We all need to exercise. Gluten allergies are a very big topic. If you have a gluten allergy, it's something you should do to basically really try to avoid gluten foods. Why? If you have a gluten allergy, your inflammatory levels are 2 to 3 times higher than someone who isn't, and we saw what inflammation does. Foods that have been genetically modified, we don't know what the hell they're going to do. And we don't know 5, 10 years from now what those genetically modified genes in the food you're eating is going to do to you. I would strongly suggest you stay away from them. So, the body reshaping and youth enhancement, the first thing we want to do is start to enhance our muscle gain, okay? The more muscle you have, the more fat you burn, and the lower your blood sugar stays. So minimizing muscle loss or gaining muscle has been really one of the focuses of the Zen Body Fit. So let me just take a moment to explain to you what's happening to everybody in this audience who's 40 and over. Okay. As we age, our intestines, which are one of our most... Who's 40 and over? It's like the majority. Okay, I'm in that category too, so don't worry. And I fixed it. Now I'll show you how I fixed it for me, and I'll tell you how we can fix it for you. See, as you age, your intestines age quicker. Okay, so when you eat food, when the people are here in their 20s, 30s, if you put in 20 grams of protein, your intestines have the digestive enzymes, the probiotics, the bacteria that are normal bacteria to take that protein and turn it into the tiny little pieces of building blocks your body needs to make muscle, to make hormones. Once you hit 40, your body's intestinal activity or ability to absorb and digest food starts to drop dramatically year by year by year. So when you're in your 60s, if I gave you 20 grams of protein, you'd be lucky to digest 4 or 5 grams, the way it comes from food. So now you're getting a better idea why not only food choices are important, but why you need to supplement. So one of the key things that has been designed into the Zen Body Fit program is a unique form of protein, that branch chain amino acids that you do not even have to digest. It go right through your intestinal wall, whether you're 30, 60, 80, or 90. That's the initial way to start building more muscle. Okay? So let's take a look at the key hormones. I'm going to give everybody a little mnemonic here. And at the end of this, I'm going to give everyone in the room a little test and see if you can remember. So leptin, okay? Anybody heard of leptin? Some of you people read a little bit. Well, before you leave today, you'll be hormonal experts. And frankly, I will tell you from this little lecture, you'll know more than your doctor will about why you gain weight. And what's important about that is when you talk to your friends about this program, you need to understand why it works, because if they hear you explaining that you understand it, it's an easy job to get them to start to take the products and really see the difference. So leptin lets you know when you're full. Everybody say that? Leptin lets you know when you're full. Okay? You're going to remember that. Here's what happens. From the fat cells, every fat cell in our body produces, as I said, it's a little micropharmacy. It produces a protein called leptin. Gets into our bloodstream and actually goes through the tiny blood vessels into the brain and shuts the brain's appetite center off. If your leptin levels are high, you do not want to eat. Okay? So this is the first secret. We have to learn how to keep those leptin levels high and not be interfered with. So let me give you an example. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or maybe early 40s, you're going to eat a hamburger, okay? That hamburger is going to send a message to your fat cells that, gee, you're hungry. You're not hungry anymore. You've eaten that protein and carbohydrates. It will normally go to your brain and turn off the appetite center. If you've gained weight and you have a lot of body fat cells, here's what happens. That hamburger you eat, you digest the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. Okay? The fat cell, because it's now this big bulbous thing, has started to produce a compound called CRP, or C-reactive protein. And what the reactive protein does is wrap itself around the leptin molecule or coats it. It tries to get into the brain, but it can't. And so your appetite is not turned off. So this is why when you're sitting at a restaurant or a dining room table at home, and you ate your whole dinner, and gee, you feel like you're still hungry, and maybe I'll have dessert, it's because that little leptin molecule hasn't gotten to your brain to give you the message you really should stop. So that happens as those fat cells get bigger, we gain more, we have that inappropriate message. Okay, leptin and leptin resistance. So basically, as if that leptin molecule, which lets you know when you're full, becomes ineffective, and when it gets wrapped with that inflammatory protein CRP, that's what we call leptin resistance. It's resisting its effect. Okay, so our bodies have the perfect system to keep our body composition and the fat and health range and the fat in our healthy range optimally by using leptin. You know, I have in our medical practices, especially anti-aging practices, I have injections I can give people and raise their leptin levels to the ceiling. Problem is, in a day or two, they're making so much of that bad CRP, even what I inject into them gets coated, so it doesn't work after a day or two. So the real secret is what we're going to show you. If you have too much of the CRP, that's the wrapping protein, it inhibits leptin's job. Okay? And guess what? The CRP sticks to the leptin molecule, makes it impossible for it to get to the brain and do its job. And Zen Body Shake helps to restore the balance because there's compounds in there that have been published and shown on a national basis to actually help your leptin molecule work better and unwrap some of that bad stuff. Okay. The second secret is adiponectin. So out of the fat cell when it's young, these nice, thin, muscular people, their fat cells are producing a lot of leptin, a lot of adiponectin, okay? And what does adiponectin do? It aids leptin, okay? It helps leptin do its job. And what else are those young fat cells and the nice thin young people doing? They're not making any of this CRP or the bad protein. So leptin has help. And other important fat signals that the Zen body system supports is adiponectin. So when we have an abundance of this protein, abundance of leptin, our bodies start to lose body fat. Our appetite gets turned off, and we're starting to restore the balance of these youthful hormones that we had years ago. Okay? Our waist is smaller, our heart is healthier, our cholesterol levels go down. We start to build more muscle mass and we have more energy, so it's easier to stick to our exercise or our routines, okay? So there's one more little thing. This is a fancy little compound also produced by the fat cells, which we don't want. So now we have two good ones, leptin, adiponectin, and two bad ones. Each one of those fat cells are going to produce as you gain weight and they get too big. Okay? Glycerol-3 phosphodehydrogenase. I like to look at, God, please decrease my heaviness. And if you remember these little things, it'll help you remember the names of these things. So if you want to decrease my heaviness, okay, here you go. God, please decrease my heaviness. Glycerol-3 phosphodehydrogenase. Forget about. Understand what it does. It helps keep you fit. And how does this work? So leptin has help with G3PDH in that what this does is it helps, it's a major enzyme in helping converting the blood sugar in your stored cells to stay low. So anything that raises your blood sugar makes your fat cells bigger. Okay? Hate to say this. Cake after dinner, ice cream. All of these things will make you fat. The Italians, I grew up in a Sicilian family, we had pasta every night. Every night it was a side dish. It wasn't farfalle or spaghetti, it was rigatoni. And then we had the tomato sauce with sugar and wine. And I didn't understand why everybody in my family was fat. I understand. Okay, so now what we want. Zen body system helps to inhibit this enzyme, and there's a key compound in the Zen body system that helps reduce the impact of blood sugar, which makes starch, which makes fat cells. Okay? And then in published studies, this is really shown to have a major, major impact by reducing fat production by almost 80%. Okay? So if you are a diabetic, what does the doctor give you? He gives you insulin. He gives you other medications that help drop your body fat. Well, you don't need prescription medications if you understand the science behind the system. Okay, let's look at another one. So leptin has help also. The other important signals to keep two things going, that is to keep your appetite suppressed and to keep you in a good mood, okay, are norepinephrine. Now this is a neurohormone, and I want to make a comment. Your guts and your brain are directly connected. And I don't know how many people know that. But if your intestines aren't working, you're depressed. The neurotransmitters that keep your brain working optimally, many of them are produced in your intestines. And there's a direct communication system between your intestines and your brain. And your mood, whether you're happy, sad, or whatever, is directly related to how well your intestines are working. Okay, so norepinephrine naturally increases thermogenesis also. That means the higher your norepinephrine levels are, the more efficiently you burn fat. So if you're a happy person, usually you burn more fat, okay? And the only time fat people are happy is when they're eating. And then when they stop eating, they get sad, okay? So it's been shown that a nutrient in Zen body shape affects metabolism by supporting optimal levels of norepinephrine. And we'll get into this in a minute. So I don't want to overwhelm you with all these fancy hormonal names, but I want you to understand the connection between your intestines or your gut and your brain. It's a major, major component to why people gain weight as well. Okay. There's a special compound also in the Zen body system called L-tyrosine. Now, L-tyrosine is an essential metabolite for your thyroid. So anybody here who's 35 or 40, their thyroid levels now are starting to take a nosedive. When your thyroid levels go down, you don't burn body fat, you don't have the energy you used to have, okay, and you don't feel quite as happy too. So one of the key things is to help keep your production of thyroid hormone, and by the way, thyroid's at least three hormones. T3, the active hormone, T4, the inactive hormone, there's actually reverse T3, there's TSH, there's all these combinations of thyroid hormones. And why I mention this is unless your body, each one of the 100 trillion cells in your body has the certain right minerals, zinc, selenium, you're not going to make your thyroid hormones, okay? Now, one of the benefits of AM/PM Essentials is it supplies the other ingredients that help virtually everything in the ZEN system work even better. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. So L-tyrosine has been shown to be converted into norepinephrine as well, which is why you see people running around, they have a lot of energy, these young people, because they not only have thyroid hormone for energy, but that thyroid hormone is making noradrenaline, which is one of their brain transmitters that makes them happy. Okay, let's look at just a couple other things. Food and exercise. Healthy fat loss and body reshaping depends on the types of food you eat. And I get this all the time. I have patients come into my office and say, doctor, I took your hormones, I'm not cheating on my diet, I'm not eating carbohydrates, I'm not having my dinner after 8 o'clock at night, and I never can lose weight. So I shake my head and say, give me your finger, put your finger out. I have a little test, I just hit their finger, get one drop